We never looked to sell out our company. Some people launch businesses with the mind set on selling from the first minute. They nurture the company till it reaches certain value, they make a profit, and move on to something else. For us, nSense was like a child. We have always run it in a kind of family way, friendly atmosphere, so at no point did we think of exiting the market. But as an old saying goes, everything is for sale. We were approached by F-Secure, a company whose headquarters were located about 200 meters from our office in Helsinki. We knew them and they knew us, as in the past we worked together on some projects. F-Secure looked for a way to break the stereotype of an antivirus software provider and expand the scope of products and services. They had more than 25 years of experience in anti-malware products for end customers, but their board soon realized that they needed to offer a more comprehensive scope of services. They wanted to expand to the cybersecurity services. There are 3 reasons why a company wants to take you over. They want your market, they want your technology and patents, or they want it all, caring not to damage the original company and its culture. In most cases, only in the latter one will they care what happens with the company that is taken over. We knew we would only consider to sell to a buyer who would not destroy what we had created. We treated nSense as our child, and it was not easy to give it up. Once the offer was made, things progressed quickly. We agreed that all partners had to be on board with the sale. Otherwise, we would not go through with it. However, once the initial shock of the change to be wore off, we realized that it was the right step to take. The integration that followed the acquisition process started in 2015 and lasted for about 2 years, at least from a technical point of view. We were aware of the many potential risks, cultural and organizational clashes, the redundancy problem, human resistance, and probably a whole bunch of other issues we did not realize at that time. Through the first 1.5 years, we functioned quite autonomously. nSense was practically swallowed up and became a new business unit. We were mostly allowed to set our own aims and integrated only where it made sense. However, F-Secure was a big company and constantly evolved. We evolved along with it, and although still nowadays as the Poznan unit we enjoy quite a bit of autonomy and are well heard in the headquarters, we had to start blending in and form one sound organism. It makes no sense to try and cling to the former identity. For several years now, I haven't thought in nSense terms anymore. F-Secure is my company, and I try to work as well as I can to reach our goals and make the company successful. As we thought, we did encounter some problems along the way. They mostly concerned the human capital management. Some people resisted the change and were not willing to stay on, which is only natural. Also, when a new business comes, some company units may feel favored over the others, which sparks tensions. But all those issues were addressed and could be resolved before anything spun out of control. Both companies were open-minded towards the takeover. At the very beginning, a guy called Eugene came to Poznan to get familiar with the new site, people, practices. He said a very memorable thing. He told me that he intended to integrate and not colonize. That meant that we were not forced to adopt all the ways and processes of F-Secure, but we compared and chose the ways that were most effective and productive, regardless of who had to change. We were also able to avoid cultural and organizational clashes, but we expected that much. We knew the company beforehand and knew that neither them nor us had the white-collar culture. I could not imagine me or my colleagues to be forced into suits and ties, when so far we have enjoyed a far more relaxed atmosphere. We also avoided the redundancy problem. In fact, we had to integrate some supporting activities, like finance or HR management. But as we came in as a new business unit, we did not duplicate roles. Overall, I can say that things went quite smoothly. The hardest to solve were, of course, the people. There were those who immediately changed their ways and started to think of themselves as F-secure. But there were also those who were much slower on the change curve. There are also those who will probably never fully integrate and will always think of themselves as nSense people. Those mostly leave. But sometimes they stay on, which is also fine, since they are efficient and productive, even if they are not fully supportive of the change. After the takeover, our employee turnover rate was small, which we think of as a success.